Okay, just hit the 1 minute mark. Let's go ahead and get started. Thanks so much for everyone joining. It's an honor. Again, if you don't know me, my name's Alex. I am the founder and CEO of Recognize, co-founder, along with Peter Phillips, his other co-founder. And this is our first product webinar. And I think, like a lot of good ideas, it feels like we should have done this a long time ago, right? And so we're going to be doing this every quarter, along with a number of other types of webinars around, change management strategies. But this one will be ran by me around, what's gone live recently. As Recognize continues to get more and more sophisticated, it's good to understand what's out there, what's available. We're always listening to our customers on new features. We have a rich roadmap for the rest of the summer into the fall. I'm more than happy to talk more about that or contact your CS rep. That's one of the things that we kind of underlying theme is feel free to reach out to the support or your customer success manager. We now have a community on Slack that our customers, you can talk to Becca here more about that. She runs that. So I don't want to jump on anyone's toes, but I will say that we are always listening to our customers and again, always coming back though to our original mission, which is to motivate the workplace and help people feel appreciated in what they do. We have a lot of ideas from when someone joins Recognize to, when they're now a 5-year employee at the company. So we're going to go through a few things in this presentation around the new point budgeting system, dynamic roles, emojis. Maybe we'll get into some other things. We did add the Net Promoter Score survey tool. It wasn't it just launched, so it wasn't included in this webinar, but if we have time, I can look at that. And of course, Q&A. And Becca, do you want to do any housekeeping on questions before I start or anything else?
Yeah, so if you do have questions that come up during the presentation, you can go ahead and put them in the chat and I'll try to answer them as best as my ability, or we can have Alex address those depending on if we are on that topic. And then all other questions can wait until the end. We'll just kind of go through the list of questions at the end, and that way we don't miss anything that's important. All right.
Yeah, thanks for that. So as people are joining, no worries. We haven't, you can start it, you can join at any moment. So let's go ahead and take a look at the point budgeting. So Recognize traditionally, we believed in the power of company values. And so Recognize has been powered by badges, being able to limit how many badges are given. I think we all know the meaning behind the badges is the effort it takes to accomplish one. And that's really meaningful. And we want people to continue to have that dimension in their recognition program. Even if you're just starting small with just promoting excellence and thank you, just creating that culture of appreciation, it's a good idea to look at your program and over the years adapt and change the badges to reflect maybe more specific values. Things like safety, innovation, cost savings are some of the common ones. Gallup has their Clifton strengths, which we have badges that represent those. So if you're new to company values, there's ways to do that. Now, something that we've heard for years is being able to budget not only by badges, but by points. And I think if you look at other recognition programs, they're, oftentimes they are point driven. We're company value driven. But we want to be able to provide all the ways to throttle how many recognitions are given. Give the employees the autonomy to choose the badge they want to give out, right? And that can be accomplished through the point budgeting. So let's go ahead and jump in and take a look at how you would do that. So come into so by the way, this is available to the mid-market customers, to the enterprise customers. If you're a startup customer on the startup package, reach out to your CS rep, your customer success manager, reach out to support if you want to upgrade to mid-market or get it as an add-on. But essentially, in the last 6 months, we've improved a lot, and we're going to keep improving. And one of them is this points dashboard. So if you're new to this, this will show you how many points have been received across different categories, across different time. And you can see how many points have been earned versus how many have been redeemed in your rewards catalog if you include a rewards catalog in your program. Again, points can be used in a completely non-monetary gamification manner, or they can be involving the points into rewards as well. So to turn that on, everyone who's a mid-market enterprise customer can come to the allocation tab inside the points section of the company admin, and you can enable point allocation. here. And once you do that, then you can set how many points all employees can have. And then what makes it so easy to use is the fact that then you can add on additional points for additional roles. So, executives could have $100, managers could give out $50 in your interval, right? Being on a monthly basis. Now, again, no one's spending any money yet with this. This is just throttling how many points are given. And then always at redemption of a reward is when possibly someone will transfer those points into something monetary. This is essentially allowing employees to choose what type of recognition they want to give out in that quote unquote bucket of points that's possible. Now we translate the points to your dollar amount. So in this program, in this test account, which you may have seen before, Redwood Health, hospital, we just, mock hospital we created, we have a 1-to-1 ratio. So we call that a transparent strategy, right? But you may have a 10-to-1 or 100-to-1, and it will tell you the possible spend based off of the catalog you've selected, because different catalogs can have different point value. But simply, you just choose how many points are allocated to all employees in addition to. So if you're in a role of executive, it'd be 20 plus 100 would be the total. And you can continue to add additional roles into it and allocate points to them. You can always delete or edit this, so it's not fixed. And then once you set that up, you'll see something different. You'll see on the main stream page, now it has a widget that tells you how many points are left in that given month. So if you do change this mid-month and people have already given recognition, you'll see that that person has, there's a reduction of amount. So it is reactive in that moment. So it's on-demand budgeting. And then, of course, we're always trying to encourage people to send recognition. So they come in here, and then again, they'll see the widget again. I can still choose, that non-monetary recognition. And then you can still be able to recognize, a group of people with that recognition, and it's not going to affect how many points you're giving out. But if you go ahead and choose, a badge that is, let's say, worth 10 points, it will go into the negative, right? If you're trying to recognize 33 people times 10, that's a lot of points, right? But if I remove it, it takes you back to 60. And I can choose that individual, right? And then reduces it by 50. I can choose somebody else. So I have the autonomy now to choose which badge to give out. But at the same time, you can have that dimension where there's still scarcity around certain badges, that maybe certain badges only can be sent by managers and there can be approval. So all the same things you expect before, but now you can control how many points are given out in total through the recognition. And then you being able to let employees choose which badge to give out. Right? So huge benefit to that. And a couple items I'll mention on the roadmap. Although the validation is live in our mobile app, you still can't give out, you can't go beyond your budget if you set up a budget, a point allocation budget in the mobile app. The visual, how many points to give out, will be coming out in the mobile app very soon. We're working on that now. Another thing I'll mention is we're working on the idea of notifying people in Microsoft Teams or in our, coming soon Slack bot or through email, right? And just reminding people, hey, it's the end of the month and you still have 40 points left. Who can you recognize with those 40 points? So we have additional roadmap items we're working on with this. Coming back into that point allocation, something that we've heard, maybe you're considering it right now, like, hey, how about managers, that some managers have a lot of employees and some managers have only a few employees. Ideally in an organization, you never have employees have 100 people below them, or something drastic. It's nice to have that kind of even organization. However, we are looking at building additional functionality. The next version of the point allocation will have a way to be able to say, managers who have additional employees are able to give out additional points, right? So be the employee count times the point per employee. So we're working on additional widget to support additional changes there. And kind of, by the way, kind of a side note, something new also in the last 6 months is, the dashboard within users, and you can see which managers are in your program and how many direct reports they have in this account, right? So it's nice to see an even spread rather than a few people have a lot of employees. You probably can see that already in your HRIS, but we're providing additional visibility into that. So coming back to the PowerPoint, like I said, you can still budget by badge, but now in addition, points. This gives your employees more freedom, more autonomy, and you have more visibility in the control of how many points are given out, right? moving on to Becca, is there any questions I want to address right now?
Yes, actually, there was one that came in through the chat. Does the point budgeting override the badge sending limit on the settings page?
No, they work in conjunction. So I would say that I would say that actually, that's a good question. The badges would override it. So if I come back in and show you, like there's two a month for efficiency. You can never send more than 2 a month with efficiency. You can give out, here's a leader, 25 points, additional points than other ones. So if you've given your 2, it becomes disabled. That's something that we didn't have before. Also, is we now kind of fade out and disable badges that are unavailable. They're unavailable either because they're beyond the amount of points that you can give out. Right now, I can give 60. Right, you can kind of see it in the background. So I can't give out the 100-point badge. But if I had sent 2 leader badges this month, I wouldn't be able to give any more leader badges, even though I may have points still available to send out with other badges. I know it wasn't, I hope that answered that question. I will add that.
What about the global settings that are in the company admin settings for badges?
Yeah, so it's the same kind of thing with, if you say you can only give out 5 badges in total in that global setting. Let me answer that question in just a second, because I'm going to leave out. I will just say that another thing we're looking at is adding like a boost. So let's say you have 60 points left, it's the end of the month, and you just want to give that, input badge, let's say, and that's worth 10 points. You can then go beyond the 10 points eventually to give 60 points for that input badge. And then obviously that employee would be notified they received a boosted, 50 points. So another roadmap item that we're real excited about is boosting the points to be able to give out all your points each month. But coming back into your question around where is that setting? Is it, I think it's still down in the settings here. So where did that go? Let's see. I think we moved, sending limit. Oh yeah, sending limit. So we're trying to put the settings in the different sections so it's contextual, but still leaving a reference in the settings page. Now, if you choose a global limit of, let's say, 5 a month, that means you can't give out any more than 5 badges a month. That would override the point budgeting, yes. So I guess, the last thing is the point budgeting, but any kind of limits you do on a specific badge or a global limit on badges, that will override the point budgeting. So with that in that case, you could possibly end with, right now, with additional points left. If you only give 5 and each, let's say your budget's 200 points, but you can only give 5 10-point badges, 50-point maximum, then we have let's say 150 points left over. But I think that's what's exciting about. I mean, always good to have that kind of extra badge. That once a month, $50 or whatever your budget. It could be $1, $5. But being able to create that scarcity with that one badge that's really meaningful, or a few badges that are meaningful. But I think that boost feature I mentioned will be really exciting as well. So if you did have a global limit of 5 and you had 1 left and you still had additional points, you'd be able to maximize those points in that example.
Awesome. And then another question that came in was, when you create a badge and you assign it to a role, does the point allocation override the role, or will an employee only see the badge if they were assigned? So I think these concepts are separate. Yeah, so the roles will still exist. And in fact, the point allocations will align with those roles as well. So you can use those roles in the point allocation. Am I correct with that, Alex?
Exactly. We use roles for a lot of things, reports, permissions. So the permissions are for the budgeting, the permissions are for the badges, and then for the reporting as well. And that's a great segue, if we're ready, to the next topic. And that is dynamic roles. Another item that we've been thinking about and looking at for years, and we're so happy to finally have it, is being able to sync roles without extra, user sync. So I know we have customers that are on Workday and other HRIS systems that are able to do a custom setup with us so that the roles come in as the job titles, as the groups. But now you can do that with Recognize, what we call dynamic roles. And just to be clear, I use our old branding for the pricing. So the startup, as we call it now, the mid-market, which was previously the silver, and then the enterprise. So startup package can sync on company admins automatically. So if you're a company admin, now you have an automatic role of being a company admin. You don't have to create a separate custom role anymore, which has honestly been a thorn in my side for a long time, and we're just so happy to have that. For mid-market, you get to sync the direct report manager. So now you don't have to create a separate custom role for manager, even if you're already a direct report manager. It's been something that we've been wanting to do for a long time. So very happy, and I'll show you how that works so that you can say this badge, this budget, and beyond can be automatically a direct report manager. What makes someone a direct report manager? They have employees who have been assigned to them, right, in the user management. And I can show you that if that's unfamiliar to you. But then the exciting thing for enterprise, and again, if you're not ready to upgrade to enterprise, we do have add-on possibilities, and you can talk to your customer success manager to get a price quote if you want to upgrade, right? Now, the enterprise allows us to sync in teams, or you could call them groups, job titles, country, and departments now, right? And so going back into this right here in this badge, you'll see what are the custom roles by a little superscript text, and it'll tell you where it came from. So you may still have custom roles left over. Maybe we should remove those. This test account has been around for a couple of years, right? So I probably should now remove the custom role to rely on the job title role. So we pull in any job titles you want. And sometimes people have maybe very similar job titles, but because you can do multiple, you can totally do that. So I can say sync in the company admin, sync in the communications group, sync in the the job title, and right, HR manager, for instance, and now all these people are able to send this badge. So how do we set up those? So you'll come down into the roles. This has also changed in the last few months. And that is being able to have, yes, you can still have those custom roles. And like I said, I probably should delete some of these custom roles that are left over from previously. Now that we can sync those in, you don't need those anymore. So if I go into the dynamic roles, this will list all the dynamic roles that have already been synced in. If you come in and look at this and it's empty, that's because we haven't synced any in yet. And you can do that in the settings. So I'll get to that next. But just to know that it will tell you where we're using it. Right, so you can see where I'm using manager in the quality badge, the leader badge, and what rewards catalogs those people are assigned to, right? So who has visibility into which rewards catalog? And by the way, if you're just in the United States, you probably just have USD for the catalog, but it is nice if you want to look into international rewards, being able to offer different currencies in case your staff go on vacation to Europe or to Canada or Mexico. But anyway, if I come into the settings, this is where it can be enabled. So if you're, again, a bronze or startup package customer, you can sync in the company admins. Then if you're the mid-market or silver package, as we used to call it, then you can sync in the manager as well. And then the enterprise can sync in the 4 additional attributes here. Again, we can give you a price quote, figure out what's the best offering for you. You don't have to always upgrade to enterprise. We do have the add-ons as well. But once this is all set up, so sync automatically means that whenever someone comes in with a new job title or their team changes or their manager changes, whatever it may be, will then be reactive, right? So it's just in time, pulling in data when something changes. That's what sync automatically means. But then if you want to sync it right at that moment and put it into the queue in our system to sync it right at that moment, you can click that button, sync. Once that's there, it will just start showing up in all the places that you can use roles. So if I go into the dashboard and go to, let's say, the top employees, I can then filter now on to discover, show me all the recognitions the accountants have been sending, right? Or the accounting team, or the, whatever you want is being synced in. So I think this is pretty self-explanatory at this point. So, all the places that the role shows up, you can use now that role. And then obviously it's great for the point allocation so that I can say, I want to make all the job titles of, regional manager to now have a certain budget that they can give out, or customer support representatives, the job title, or the group, right, can then have that, or manager. And that's kind of the biggest one, is being able to just assign a badge to all direct report managers to promote excellence on their team automatically without having to manually have that as a role, because so far roles have been proprietary to Recognize and not something that is default from an HRIS sync, from an Azure Active Directory sync. We have job title, group, department, country, and those can be used now for those roles, as I covered earlier. And that covers the dynamic roles. Let's go through some questions if there are any.
I didn't see any coming into the chat, so if anyone has any questions that they'd like to ask, go ahead and send them through the chat, or you can unmute your mic.
Yeah, or hit us up later. If like, hey, I want to set that up, can I get some help? It's pretty self-explanatory, but let us know. Emojis.
We have a question, Alex, real quick. Will these changes in the system override anything that comes over in our SFTP nightly file? For example, if I make a change in Recognize, but it hasn't been changed in our HRES, what happens in that situation? It's a great question.
So just to be clear, Becca, so they're asking, so let's say you do a dynamic role of job title in Recognize, and then walk me through that one more time so I can make sure.
Sure. So I think the question is, will their SFTP file override anything that is in Recognize? The answer is yes. However, these dynamic roles are dependent upon the SFT file. So where the information is coming from is actually from your file. So you would basically have those attributes that are in your file be syncing in as dynamic roles.
Yeah, the FTP file or any sync that you do, or eventually we're going to add skim, if you're familiar with that, any user sync that we do, that will determine what the dynamic roles end up being. Your sync file is the dynamic roles.
It is the dynamic
so to
role.
speak. Yeah, we're basically, it's like a funnel of all your different attributes, and then they funnel into our role system to be able to use across the board and Recognize. So 7 minutes left, just really straightforward. I don't think you can turn off emojis, right, Becca? I looked, and I think that's most of the time you can turn things off. Emojis are just turned on by default. Again, most of the time we leave things off and let you decide if you want to utilize them and inform the company admins if they want to use them. But emojis is a straightforward and ubiquitous engagement tool. We see it in Teams and Slack. We see it in Facebook and so forth, and Workplace by Meta. So just real quick, I will mention kind of the last thing. How is it different from the plus ones that already exist? So plus ones can possibly result in points, right? And we may be changing that to called a boost. So you'll be able to boost a recognition, or you can boost a recognition that you're sending yourself. So kind of maybe change that concept a little bit, but for now it's all the way it's separate is a plus one's like, hey, I want to validate this recognition. I want to say this recognition I agree with, and I want to give additional points to that possibly, right? As a setting. But the emojis are on the recognitions, comments, and announcements. So they go back into Recognize, they go to the stream page. I can now do emoji for the anniversaries, let's say, or from an announcement that's been created. And this is just another way to engage with your staff, right? I can also add an emoji for the comments. And I will say that we're about to launch this in our mobile app. The mobile app is something that we're always working on to make it in par with the website or our integrations in Slack or Outlook or Workplace. Soon to be Slack as well. We're launching that probably next week. But being able to have emojis in the mobile app, and they'll go back and forth. So if you do one in the mobile app, it will show up in the website or in Teams and so forth. So that's something that we're launching soon. But typically we launch the features in the website first, and then they come in the mobile app. There's some things that are mobile first, but typically it's the website first. And that covers the emojis. I don't know if is there any questions around that? Awesome.
Annie, come
yeah,
through. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we have about 5 minutes left. So if there are any other questions about anything you saw today, you can post them now, or you can hold them for your customer success manager. Our team is always available to help out if you need a demo, if you need an extra demo on anything or want to run through any of these features. Again, we also have our support email as well for those of you who do not have a dedicated success manager. Alex, did you have anything else to add?
I mean, if we have a few minutes, I can just mention things that are coming soon or considering, things that maybe you're already thinking about. So I'll just point out that the one thing we're looking at is the birthdays, anniversaries. Sometimes they can fill the stream. That's why we added the filter, right? But we're going to get rid of the filter and we're going to start putting the anniversaries, birthdays on the side. So you're going to be able to, say, hey, happy birthdays. It's a lot like if you interact with Facebook. It's a lot like that, where you're going to be able to comment very quickly on the birthdays or anniversaries of that day, but of course, always see a full feed. That's going to allow the recognitions to bubble up more in the stream. Like I said, we're adding a Slack app. So if you use Teams and Slack or something along those lines, we're going to have that in the store coming soon. Let's see, I thought of something else. I will mention that we are, it's in the progress. And that's additional reward options. So looking at adding Amazon, looking at adding swag later this year. So different options around rewards. Of course, we have the gift cards, now international gift cards. And so we're definitely considering how we can keep adding options for the rewards. Experiences as well we're looking at. That's going to be possibly international. So a lot of different coming soon options, including that, Amazon. And I think that covers a lot of what we're working on. We're also looking at, using AI to be able to increase the quality of the recognition messages. So if you send a recognition that just says thanks, you won't be able to send it because it won't reach a threshold on quality. And there'll be a little indicator of how that works. If you've used ChatGPT, AI has really taken a big leap here in 2023 and Recognize is looking to take advantage of that. And also, I just mentioned that anything that has gone live, you can always go to that product update page. We try to keep this up to date as we've been touching on some of the things we just looked at. There are mentioned here in the, the date picker I didn't touch on. That's another thing that we added. We are going to be starting to notify managers. Hey, you haven't recognized some of your direct reports recently. What is something that Edith has done? All right, we've already added in the last 6 months, the last date of when you recognize somebody, and you can see that in people's profiles. That should be part of your performance review. Managers should be rated that they're recognizing their teammates regularly, but we're going to help reinforce that through notifying your managers to recognize their direct reports. We're going to start notifying people when you have points to be able to redeem. If you have points, you should go use them, right? If you have a reward system. So we're going to start notifying employees when they can use their points. Of course, all notifications are controlled at an individual and company level, depending on your permissions, as usual.
Alex, on the topic of notifications, we did get a question about Microsoft Teams notifications and whether or not there are any updates in the works on that.
Yeah, great question. We had a call with Microsoft Teams group yesterday. So we are in contact with Microsoft. They were also recommending that we start doing Microsoft Teams notifications. So the thing about our Microsoft Teams app is it's essentially we post recognitions to your channels through the Microsoft connectors. If you don't already have that set up, you can set that up through Microsoft connectors and Recognize. We have that icon, right? But we don't have a bot. And the bot is how you get the notifications. So we're going to start helping you create a habit around recognition in Microsoft Teams by notifying you to do that weekly recognition or that monthly recognition. We're going to start notifying you in Microsoft Teams directly, and you're going to be able to turn off email notification as a result. So that's something that came up yesterday when talking to Microsoft. They recommended it to us, so we're going to start working on it. It's not in our roadmap. In our immediate roadmap, we have a few things we're still working on, of course, but definitely by the end of the year, you'll see, hopefully by winter of this year, you'll see notifications and more. I don't like to set hard dates because we always like to make sure that there's quality in those roadmap items before we launch it. It could come much sooner, but I don't want to overpromise, underdeliver.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex. Hey guys, we are out of time. We're at 12:30. We will have a recording of this webinar that we can send out to you. And I also see your question, Jade, and I'll make sure that we get that answered for you as well. Thank you all for coming to our webinar, and hopefully you have found some really good insight into our new product or our new features. And hopefully next time we will see you again on our next product webinar.
Yeah, we'll be covering the Net Promoter Score survey system that we just launched. If you want to learn more about the Net Promoter Score survey, reach out to us, and we'll talk more about doing employee engagement surveys with you as well. All right, thanks, Becca, so much, and thanks everybody else for joining.
Guys. Bye.
Bye.